Welcome to I Am a Solution Show. I'm your host, Coach Warren.
I'm your host, Coach Moo.
And today, man, we got a super special guest.
Super duper.
Yeah, one of my guys. I coached with him. I coached one of his sons. He has a real deep history in just helping develop the youth on the Northside. And, it's a pleasure to have him with us. We're going to get into who he really is, later on in the show. As we go through the show, we'll get to know who he is.
Like Coach Nehemiah right here, it's crazy because, I don't let, when my kids is young, there's certain people, you got to be a certain kind of person to let coach your kid and be around them like that and be comfortable with, I can leave, he's cool.
Right.
Like, from the jump,
yeah,
I felt that. Yeah, I mean, you know how you could just recognize somebody real? I'm like, he's cool. And
somebody with integrity.
Somebody with integrity, right? Yeah. And, we was always in Pitt Hills at the time, and we would drive all the way to the north side because when you want somebody to pour into your son that positivity that you can in that sport, you got to find them people. You got to go to them people. So, that's how Coach Nehemiah coached my oldest son, who is 22 right now.
Yeah.
I think he's 22 right now. And he started coaching it when he was like 7, 8 years old, like right after we left you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know that little league you had in Pitt Hills?
Yeah.
Like right after that, we went to Coach Nehemiah.
Yeah.
And he was coaching my son. And real quick, I know I'm talking a lot, right? But real quick, we was talking before the camera started rolling about, people pulling stuff out of your son and giving them that, out of your player and giving them that confidence, right?
Yeah.
When Seuss got injured, you know what I'm saying? He was like in a depression. Lightweight still is, for real. But, he went to Westinghouse, he was just recovering, and then, he transferred to go with you know what I mean? And, man, you changed his life for real. And I'm not even just saying that because Seuss was in a depression, man, because he went from being one of this top athlete dude,
swear,
having 3 knee surgeries and kind of sidelining him. His whole high school career was put on hold. You brought that out of him, Coach. And then I'll forever appreciate you for that. Winning that Whitfield championship, you know what I'm saying, for Nash Prep.
Yeah, bro, you kind of stole him off of me because I was developing him for us. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Moo is my man. He was actually supposed to come to Imani and be with us. I forgot what happened with that.
They wouldn't let him in.
Wouldn't let him in, man.
They wouldn't let him in.
And so the coach got a whole bag in Seuss.
And they say one man's trash is another man's
Hold
trash.
up. No, he was my treasure.
Not you the school, Imani.
Yeah.
Treat him like that.
But shout out to Seuss, man. He's a great young man. And I wish him.
Shout out to Seuss, man.
Yeah, man.
Hold it down. But I didn't mean to take up all that. But we introduced your Coach Nehemiah.
Yeah.
What's up, Coach? Glad you came on to talk to us.
It's a blessing to be here, man. 2 great men. When I got the call, I was like, I'm there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm there.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm looking forward to having the conversation today and just busting it up.
So I was just sitting here thinking just about I got 3 sons. You got 3 sons. You got 3 sons.
Yep.
That's crazy.
And that's for me to just like Coach Moose said, because you coach my son, you coach my youngest son Avery. Even last year, won the Jam Fest AAU, and
that's big, right there. That's
huge.
Like the biggest tournament that come to Pittsburgh, right?
Biggest tournament that come to Pittsburgh, and we had a great leader to lead us through and get us the goal. You feel me? And so that's a big accomplishment. But it just says something. When we're traveling in the same circles, looking for the same things. And the fact is, your youngest son is at Imani with me, which is super cool.
And my youngest son would have been at Imani with you.
Yeah, man. So it when you have great people, I think it attracts greatness, and you have a standard. That's what you look for in other men to pour into your children. Like for me, I know I can only do so much, and so I look for guys like Coach Brazil, Coach Nehemiah, Coach Moo to really speak life and to draw those things out of my son. So man, I appreciate who you are, what you do, and we're gonna get into it, man, about pretty much your background and community development as far as the youth and just other opportunities that you're into. So we're gonna get right into it.
So once you give us a little history, honest, because what we're doing, right, like the whole purpose of the I Am a Solution show is, what is our solution to keep these kids from getting to the street, doing this violence? What solutions can we, push forward so that everybody can kind of get on that same line? So like we brought you in because we know you. Like I know you for many years. We know you've been doing things for many years, so we just give people a little bit of background about what you've been doing as far as, helping these kids and like preventing like community violence and stuff like that.
Okay, so for me, being from Pittsburgh, primarily from the Northside, I grew up in that era where when I was in high school, I saw an explosion of like gang violence, and I was dead in the middle of it. I was going to Perry at the time.
Yeah.
I actually lived in Spring Garden at the time, which is basically all white community. But all of my friends were from Manchester or up around like Perrysville, Charles Street. So that's where I spent most of my time. And just trying to navigate that, man, and just remembering how tough it was and how violent our communities were. Like at that point, that's back when guys, we know you should be able to stand on the corner.
That was in the 90s?
Yeah, in the 90s. So dudes was out on the corner.
Yeah,
it wasn't even safe to really navigate from one part of as big as the North Side is, it was all divvied up and different, guys going at it. So trying to figure out how to navigate that, and always having an inner feeling like, this ain't how we should be living. Yeah. Like, as a people, we live amongst a community of us. Most of us are related to each other, went to school together, families know each other, all these things, and watching each other, like, take each other's lives like that and just seeing all the kind of the destruction and the death and all of that. I always had an inner feeling like, man, I want if I can, I want to be a person that brings
that's two shows in a row.
Be a part of the solution. You know what I mean? Because it was hard. I tried my hand in some illegal activities around 15 years old, but for me, it was actually a blessing in disguise getting caught at such an early age, because I literally, it made me rethink where I wanted to go with my life, So basketball became my outlet, to get to. I felt like that was my ticket out. So
now, was mom and dad at home, or was it just mom, or?
So it was just mom. So okay. I grew up single parent home with my mom and my older brother. Okay. My dad he lived on the North Side. I always knew where he was. I could go see him, but he wasn't in a part of my day-to-day raising. He wasn't invested. And my dad, he had, I'm the youngest of 8 kids, 5 different moms. So, when you spread yourself that thin, it's hard.
Papa was a Rolling Stone, huh?
You know what I'm saying? Definitely. So it's hard to be invested, in any of your kids' lives, And then my dad actually ended up, my mom was the only one he married. Right. So I was the youngest, but by the time I was 5, they kind of went their own ways. Right. He ended up getting remarried. So he ended up married and raising my 3 step siblings for more of his life than his own kids. You know what I mean? So So yeah, just growing up and trying to navigate, figure it out. Basketball became an outlet, and I got in CCAC, took it as far as I can, went to Kutztown, took it as far as I can. Then I was blessed with the opportunity
for hooping, right?
Yeah, for hooping. Yeah. And blessed with the opportunity to play in France for 9 years. So I played professionally over in France for 9 years.
You know how to speak French?
Yeah.
Straight up,
it
coach?
took, yeah,
That's
it
crazy.
took me a minute, but. I figured I finally learned it. I was probably about 6 years in before I really could comfortably speak and understand.
That's
French,
crazy.
Yeah. So, along that journey though, it always was a passion for me to come back to my community and help out. I figured basketball helped me get to where I went, so I figured that can be a vehicle because so many of our youth are into athletics and So that not being the main thing, but that being the vehicle to connect. You know what I mean? Because for me, it was always bigger than sports.
Mm-hmm.
It's about life. It's about understanding who you are, where you come from, understanding your purpose in life, and using your talents and gifts to take you as far as you can. Like I was blessed to see a lot of things that basketball allowed me to see. I would have never seen. I've been to Caracas, Venezuela. Dominican Republic, France, Belgium, Greece. Like all of this is through the vehicle of basketball. I'm from the north side of Pittsburgh.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I ain't know
Got you
nothing
all over the world.
Yeah. I ain't know nothing. The first time I got on a plane, I was going out of the country. So I experienced this two things at once. Getting on a plane for the first time and going to Caracas, Venezuela for basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So once I came back, even like my mind, my heart, my passion was, of course, to make it to the NBA. You want to make a lot of money, but that was never for me to be able to say, so I can have. It always was in my mind that I want to be able to give back. I want to help do whatever I can to help change the conditions of, people from my community. Because to me, it ain't success if that's not happening. Like I couldn't see myself, like going to play overseas, make however much money you're gonna make, and then move to Atlanta when I come back. I'm like that. I feel like I'm taking my gift and my talent and I'm keeping it to myself and I'm going and you know what I mean.
Being
and
selfish.
No knock against people who relocate.
But Coach,
We talked about that.
well, why do you feel people don't think like that? Because I know we think like that.
I think it's a calling, man. I think you have to be called and have a heart and desire for that. Some people don't, that's not their mission or their calling in life. So it's not a knock against them. But it's just, that's the reality of it, for whatever reason.
Like people don't come back.
Yeah.
I just feel like, I hear you saying it's not a knock, but I feel like if you benefited from the community to get where you need to get to, you should give back to the community that helped you get to where you. Like I feel that's a knock on you. I feel that's a knock on you. If the community helped you, because I'm sure you had coaches and mentors and people that like inspired you and like poured into you for you to get to where you need to get to.
Definitely.
Like, so it's only right that you have the mindset to give back. I know I did.
Yeah.
I know you did. It's just like I feel like that's one of the reasons why we be in predicaments that we're into, because the people who use the community to become successful kind of like turn their back on the community. And it's like we do that a lot. Our people do that a lot. And it's like
we do it the most.
Yeah, we do it the most. And everybody got to realize, in order to really change stuff, we got to all move as a unit. And we got to do it big. We can't. It can't just be us three. Or 10 dudes. And you know what I mean? It got to be everybody. Even if you just, you got your degree and you a nurse practitioner or whatever, come back. Somebody can benefit from just knowing you got successful off of that. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to just be sports, but sports is the vehicle to get a lot of kids.
Your life experience overseas, you were able to come back and lend all that knowledge and all those experiences to the group you had when you started to work with the community. Now let me ask you this. Now when you were overseas, how did they treat the black people? Or how did we treat each other? Did you see any of that stuff? It's
an interesting dynamic because I seen As soon as I got to France, I seen the racism and the way it works. It's everywhere. As soon as I got there. So I'll tell y'all a quick story. So when I agreed to go play in France, it was through my coach at Kutztown, Coach Jones. Coach Jones had a connection with a guy named Roger Tank. He's a French guy. Roger Tank used to bring high school age French kids to the Kutztown basketball camp every summer. Okay. So they would spend the month of July at the Kutztown hoop camp. A lot of those kids had ambitions to either come to college in the U.S. or maybe even become in high school, get a chance to stay here, get with a family, play high school, go to college. Mm-hmm. In turn, Coach Jones used to go over to France after they left and help him with his camp in August.
Okay.
So when I agreed and signed my contract, Coach was like, all right, so you're going to come up and work the camp at Kutztown while they're here. When they leave, you're going to leave with them. So Coach Jones didn't go. My assistant coach, Coach Nash, ended up going. Me, him, a couple other people went with Roger Tank back to France. So I was going to work the camp. It was in Nancy. That's the name of the city in France. Mm-hmm. With Roger Tank for a week. And then the first team I played for is called Aix-les-Bains. That's the city. So the clubs are named after the city.
He said Aix-les-Bains. You see that little tag he's still on it?
So they drove up to pick me up and bring me to their city. So when we got to France, we landed in Paris. So Roger Tank is taking us around, showing us the Eiffel Tower, this, that, and the third. Then we drive to Nancy. And I forgot how far Nancy. We say Nancy, they say Nancy. Okay. So we drove to Nancy. So he's taking us around Nancy now, and we're like in downtown. And over there was cool. I don't know if y'all ever been over there. They preserve all those castles.
Yeah, I ain't never
so they're like tourist attractions and stuff like that. Yeah. So we're downtown. He's showing us something. So I'm walking across the street, and this Arab dude. I'm the last one. So we're walking across. This Arab dude pulls up on me. So he must think I speak French, right? So he starts talking to me in French. I don't know no French. So I stop Roger Tank. I say, this guy's trying to ask me something. I don't know what he's saying. Yeah. So his face, from Roger Tank's a French dude, white French dude. His face, you could tell he was like bothered that he got to talk to this dude. Because body language is what? 70% of the conversation they say or something like that.
Tell it all.
So I see that instantly, right? So he walks over and they're exchanging. So what I found out that the guy was asking for directions.
Yeah.
So when he came back, he was like, he was asking for directions. And he just goes into this. Yeah, those Arab and African, they come over in this country, they freeload, they don't work, they get welfare. This is his conversation from the gate. I'm sitting there like, wow, this is how they talk about us in America. Yeah, it's the same thing. So instantly, I'm like, wow, it exists everywhere. You know what I mean? So the whole thing about the question of are we treated different? So it's the same here. Mm-hmm. If you an NBA player and you go live and want to go buy a house in
Malibu, Beverly Hills,
they arms open, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you were just a common, black folk who maybe make a couple dollars and could do it, if you ain't like a celebrity or something, then they side-eyeing you, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing over there because I played basketball. They saw me differently. I knew that. I was smart enough to realize that. Right. I didn't take it personal. I just understood the situation. Yeah. Because I had friends when I played in Blois, which was the last city I played in. So the way they do it over there is when you come and you sign a contract, they get you everything you need. You don't got to pay no bills. They give you a vehicle. They do all that. So I had my family with me. So they got us a house, right? And over there, houses are expensive. It's like living in the projects or living in the suburb, so our house was kind of like in the suburbs. And my wife started going to this French class and she met a couple that was from Madagascar. So y'all heard of Madagascar. Mm-hmm. So they but they're black folks like us. So when we started hanging out with them, they lived in the apartments. Okay. But it was just like they would come to our house and be like, wow, y'all house is nice. And I'm looking at it like it's just a regular house.
Right.
But it's like us, they living in, and when you go up to where they live, it's all African and Arab people, all people of color living in the low income housing. And then down where I live, it's all French, white folks. And I'm like, man, like this whole system of white supremacy is
it's everywhere.
It's global. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, they always was cool. People see me in a grocery store. You know, they was always nice to me. I never had no problems with anybody. But I also understood that
what it was.
I was there for under different circumstances.
Tell us a little bit more about like the stuff you've been doing with the youth.
Okay, so when I came back home, my mission was to get involved in the community. That was my mission. Like, I want to make sure I want to live in the community. I want to give back as much as I can. I know basketball is what I did. It's a point of connection, so I'm going to use that. But I always was big on, this is more than basketball. You know what I mean? I learned that basketball is a microcosm of life. Everything you face on the court in that rectangle, you face in life. And how you handle it out here is how you're going to handle it in life. Yeah. So I always wanted to make sure that was a part of the message. It was never about having the best players and best team and being able to go on social media saying my team won the championship.
I can attest to this.
Yeah.
I can attest to this.
It was never about that for me. It was always about trying to pass on what I was able and blessed to receive and help the youth, as many as I can, understand that, you know, from our community. So when I came back, the first place I was able to work at to do that was Urban Impact. So I worked at Urban Impact.
How'd you get plugged in with them?
So with Urban Impact, when we used to come home in the summers from overseas, because I always had June and July off vacation, so we always came back to Pittsburgh. We had got my daughter into their summer camp.
Okay.
And so I was familiar with the summer camp. I actually didn't know all the different things that Urban Impact did. I used to talk to my wife about like, yo, I want to go back and I want to start. I want to buy buildings. I want to start community with all sports, athletics. This is all the stuff I'm talking about, and help build up our community. And it was just like a blessing that when I came back, like Urban Impact already had all of that. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, wow. So that's how I found out about them. Was my daughter initially was going to the summer camp, and I met Pastor Ed Glover, who's the founder and president. I actually met him in Wendy's over on Allegheny Avenue by the Stiller Stadium.
Okay.
We were over there eating, and I don't know how our conversation started, but somehow we started a conversation, and then I was, you know, he was like, man, we would love to have you, and you know, that kind of,
Is he still there?
Yeah, he's still over it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how I got into that. But
dang, so he was there when you just came back in like 2009, you said?
They had Urban Impact's been around since like in the 90s.
And he was running it since then.
Yeah, but I mean, he's what, the president, CEO.
Okay.
So he's still up top, but you know, it's a big organization underneath him. You know, I think he's more of the out front leader with the vision and mission, and you know, he's doing that part of it. You know, he functions up there.
What's his race?
He's a white.
He's a white guy.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Then I started my own. That's where Ace came, where you was coming when I met you. Yeah. I started my own skill development thing on the side, because Urban Impact was the first and foremost thing was ministry, which is cool. Yeah. That's important. And we did basketball, but it wasn't like intense training for people who are like serious about taking basketball to a higher level. Yeah. It was more for community engagement, to keep kids off the street, give them something to do, which was cool. But I knew that there's also another level that some, you know, so I would do that on my own on the side. That's how that got started. Yeah.
And so how long did you do that for? How long were you coaching?
So I was coaching at Urban Impact for 4 years, but I've been coaching all like straight through. So I did Urban Impact for 4 years. I was doing my ACE clinics, developmental leagues on the side. And then I linked up with my man Dave Gordon. He had Perseverance.
Coach Dave.
Yeah, so me and him linked up. I was doing ACE.
Another good brother.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. He had Perseverance. So, you know, we sat down, put our heads together, and I used ACE to funnel into Perseverance. He had the AAU program organization, and then we did it like that. So we would run ACE throughout the year, skill building, connecting with the youth and the family. Then we would run AAU once the spring and summer hit, and then we did that for about, I want to say like 5 or 6 years.
How many kids you think you guys?
I was just about to ask that. Like, how many youth and families you think came through your coaching and mentoring?
Man.
And were they at risk at all?
I mean, I think if we black,
For sure.
we at risk. You know, I wasn't in the suburbs.
Yeah,
None of my people. Everybody was from the community. Everybody was up, against the same struggle. So definitely, I would say,
Probably hundreds.
Yeah, definitely hundreds. Because we had built it up to the point where we had 6 boys teams, and we had like 2 girls teams. So and you talking about year after year after year, so hundreds. You know what I mean? So most I would say 98%, if I had to throw out a percent, would be people, youth, families from the community. I had good people who came and joined us, from outside the community, but for the most part, most of the kids and families was from,
And coach, like, I know from personal experience, like what you pour into the kids, it's just how you, like outside of the basketball stuff, but how you just want them to be, productive people and positive people and do the right thing. Like, why do you think brothers like you don't get invested in like some of these people that's just getting millions but don't got the impact that you have? Why do you think that is?
I don't know, man. I think that we have been, as a people, we have been conditioned, and it's been by intent from outside, and I think we also assist in it, which is bad too. We have been conditioned to celebrate and glorify, for some reason, the things that hurt us, the things that do the opposite of, they don't build us up, they tear us down, they destroy. So I think when you're trying to be like somebody who's being a voice that's different from the norm, I don't know, it's just like, it's kind of like, it's kind of like the misconception that when we was growing up, if you was smart and reading books and you was the nerd, we made that a bad thing. Yeah. We was conditioned to be like, there's something wrong with that dude.
We're reading and being smart.
Yeah, because he know how to read and be smart. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think that I can't really say for sure, but I think it's that we're not in the mindset as a community of people to really understand that when there are people, like myself, like you guys, and not, anybody who's trying to really
better our community,
invest in our kids in the right way, that we need to get behind it. You know what I mean? Like we get behind the wrong things,
But what if,
so so you said you did Perseverance for about 5 years or whatever. How was that funded? Where was the support at? Who helped y'all?
It was just families would we had explained to them what the cost was. We wasn't in it to make money, but we had to let everybody know that.
But it's a costly
thing. Costs, yeah. Like, right. You got to pay for tournaments, you got to pay for uniforms, you got to, we did shoes. We had people who helped coach. So it was just more or less, we didn't have any like.
Y'all just got it out the
fundraising. Yeah.
So. Do you got any success stories of kids or coaches, when you were doing it, that like now you see them now and they graduated college, they're doing this down the throat? You have any success stories?
Anything like that?
Yeah, we got quite a few young guys that are doing well. We have one young man. His name is Ernie, and he came through our AAU program. He now runs like a young adults ministry over on the south side. Ernie came and played for us, and I think Ernie might only play for us 1 year. Then he went to Carlo, played 2 years there.
Coach Dave.
Coach Dave, yeah. And then he I think he didn't do as well as he needed to do in school, so he ended up not being to come back. And the thing is that a lot of times what's special to me, to hearing how well he's doing, is that would like kind of derail somebody's life. It'll look like, well, he's not successful. But to see that even though that part didn't go as far as he would have liked it or we think it should go, that he's still out in the community, bringing forth the word, investing in people, and being a positive light. You know what I mean? That's worth so much, to the community.
And that's kind of what my point was, because you guys are dealing with hundreds of kids, families, and you said you got countless success stories. So you have these philanthropy companies that see there's an issue in our communities, and they say, we want to help, but a brother like you get passed up. Why do you think that is? Because the proof's in the pudding. You got success stories that you probably can just keep going down the list. Success story of kids who are not in the streets, they ain't out here selling drugs, or if they did fall off, they got back on track and they're successful. And I think we all got those success stories, and I personally feel like people like us are purposely looked over. And I feel like there's gatekeepers who will say, oh yeah, like I got a few people. I got Coach Nehemiah. We gonna work with him. He do this. I got Coach Juan. We gonna do all of this. They get the resources, and you don't even know that they put your name in it. And to me, I feel like stuff like that gotta be exposed, man, because like that's why we kind of stagnant. Because imagine if perseverance, if besides y'all getting out the mud, imagine if somebody said, you know what, I'm gonna give y'all $100K a year, because what y'all are doing is the reason why we put resources in the communities and organizations like yours to do exactly what you're doing. But you got it out the mud. And like I'm saying, people, we need to, because like over these past like 3-4 years, Coach, I ain't gonna lie to you, I seen some of these budgets that some of these organizations is getting, and it blew my mind. Like it blew my mind. Like it blew my mind. Like if I showed you what I seen, if that gets made public, it is public. But I think people just don't look into it.
Right.
If you see some of these salaries some of these folks is getting in these organizations, like you will be getting a 6-figure salary. You will be getting, like, for what you was doing, you will be getting a 6-figure salary. And you do what you was doing way more. And I just feel like there's a career in what you were doing, right? And I feel like I got a full-time job, plus I'm doing what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine if my full-time job was that.
Oh, yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Imagine if your full-time job was that, Coach. Like, just imagine how quicker your impact would be, how broad it would be. Like, I feel like that is not talked about enough. And it's like, we'll go a decade of the same folks getting this money, getting these resources, and nothing's really changed.
And you don't see them.
And you don't see them. And my thing is, yeah, you might have something come up where you impact 20, 30 kids, right? But then we got 200 kids the next year that at risk. So that 20, 30, like we're to a point, I feel like, in our communities where we have to have mass movement on stuff.
Absolutely.
If it's only 20, 30 kids, I'm like, don't even include me in it, because that ain't enough. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like brothers like you, if you just got invested in, man, like how much more impact would you have, Coach? Just from your knowledge, just from you've been all around the world. Just imagine you telling another kid, like, man, you know, in this there's another country that you could go to where they got this, that, and the third. Just imagine some kids don't even get out their neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's why I asked you, like why do you think that is? Because I think it's purposely done. I think some of these philanthropy companies want to pat themselves on the back and say, look what I did, but they don't. They really look past like Anwan.
Like people who really gonna be.
People who really put, or it'll be these heads of these organizations that they in their 70s and 80s and they don't want to let it go and pass it down and pull up the next brother. You know what I'm saying? Like they be in their 80s They still the executive directors.
It's absolutely purpose, on purpose. It's a system set up for us to keep running in circles. You know, the proof is in the pudding. You know, he just gave us a story about he spent 1 year with this young man he just spoke about, and it changed his life. You know what I mean? Sometimes it don't take the 5 years or the 10 years that he's been out here. It only takes that 1 year to get the kid to see what he can actually be. And that's the justification in investing in a Coach Nehemiah, a Coach Moo, a Coach Juan, is because of the impact. It's immediate. You know, we are from these spaces, and so at the end of the day, we're able to speak to what's in them that they don't have. And the fact is, you know, we're fathers. For me, that's the key to what we do.
Yes.
Because we have sons, we have daughters, and we want the best for them, right? And so when we're looking at other children, when we're looking at other young girls and young boys, we can literally see the missing pieces, right? And give it to them how they need, right? You grew up single parent household, you know, you just said that wasn't super invested in that day-to-day process, so you know what that looks like.
Definitely. Right?
But then now you got sons who are living up under your roof, and so now you're able to be everything your dad wasn't for you, for your sons, and you see the difference, right? And so same thing with me, right? We're able to see these things in our children, and we're able to just speak into other children where those missing pieces are. So this is the investment this is the justification in the investment, right? And so what Moo is talking about is, why is this purposeful that we don't get the support financially? Because it is look, we got full-time jobs, but we're also doing a full-time job after the full-time job.
Right. And it's not like we gonna stop.
Yeah.
So it ain't about the money, because
Right.
money or not, we gonna keep doing what we doing. But I'm saying, like, Coach Nehemiah is a solution.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Nehemiah is a solution. Why isn't these philanthropy companies saying, look what this brother been doing. Look how many families he impacted.
Mm-hmm.
Look how many success stories he has with his solution. Mm-hmm. We gotta support this. We gotta support this. Like, so my question to you is, why do you think it's not, like, why do you think you weren't invested in, Coach?
I would say for me personally, I never understood that part of it. Like there being philanthropy companies that will come behind you and support you. So it's kind of like I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
He was oblivious
so
to
I never can say that I experienced where I've gone to someone seeking, funds and they overlook me. So I think my personal experience, I would have to say that I kind of, because I didn't understand it, I never even was able to put myself in a position to, not to say that there's people that knew and seen it and didn't.
But see, that's
my code either.
But that's my point though, Coach, because if you got the resources and you say I'm really trying to affect change, you should be doing your research. Like, it shouldn't be you looking in the Northside and don't know Coach Nehemiah. Like, I know that, and I'm not even from the Northside. You can't look in the Homewood and don't know who Coach Moo is. That means you didn't do your research. That means you didn't do your research. So it's just a point me and him always talk about, man. And I'm like, we gotta start calling folks out. Like, that's how I feel. Like, we gotta start. Like, we don't need your money because we gonna do what we gonna do, but we need your money to make a serious impact. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because without them resources, it's gonna be a slow. Like, we gonna get there. We shown we got there, but it's gonna be slow. If you really trying to make a dent in it, that's what gotta happen, man. It's like, that's something that really bothers me, man. Especially when it's people from our community that is the gatekeepers. That's like, I'm not gonna let nobody else know about this. Even if this ain't my lane, I'ma just jump in that lane so I can take that too.
For personal benefit.
Yeah, personal benefit. You know what I'm saying?
So that's a tough thing to overcome, because even I think in every community there are people who take that stance. They in it for personal benefit. So I think that if we had a chance to sit down within a group and just be a fly on the wall in the white community, you'll run into that, right? I don't want to start calling out communities, but I believe that that's amongst all people. However, I think that
No, that's good.
in our community, because that's what I know,
Right.
we have been conditioned to think about self, right? Because look what happens in our community. When somebody makes it, right, quote unquote make it, and they live in our community, what's the first thing they do? Bounce. They leave, right?
Roll out.
So they don't think, man, now I got a chance to help pick my people up or bring some people with me, right? And it's twofold, because that same person could try to stay in the community and get robbed. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you don't know, but that's the whole conundrum, and that's what they want our environment, our mentality, our community to always be having to look at each other and wonder, if I stick around, what's gonna happen?
But you know what? We in the age of you can be across the country and still support.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
you can fund the resources. So to me, that ain't an excuse for me.
Yeah.
My thing is, you seen Coach Nehemiah do the work for decades. You don't gotta question that. You don't gotta say, oh, is he gonna do something with the money? Oh, is he shiesty? Because you know how when it come to our community, it's always some stigma with we can't give them big money because they ain't gonna know what to do with it. You seen Coach Nehemiah be the solution, but you're resistant to invest in somebody like Coach Nehemiah, but you'll invest in this organization that can write a good summary of this grant they got and make it look good on paper. But your eyes can see, if you on the north side, everybody knows who Coach Nehemiah is. Everybody knows. Because of your reputation, because what you pour into the kids, because your success stories, and because you give back to your community. And people recognize that, and the kids respect you because kids recognize real love, man.
Definitely.
They recognize real. I can go into any school right now, and the kids will gravitate to me when I talk to them because they can feel, man, he's not just in here just to, like, he's in here because he really cared about me. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I feel like we have to, like, it probably happened in other communities, right? Like white, whatever, but they're doing better than us. Those communities are doing better than us.
True.
That's just a fact. They're doing better than us. Like, we be so divided, and I feel like these gatekeepers, like, it just burns me up, man, because I know some personally.
Yeah.
And I just be like, I'm just not the one to put them out there, but I'm about to, because I'm getting impatient. But I know some personally, and I be like, man, you could have pulled in this sister who you see every day. She's going live on Facebook, who's doing this. This is for that, but you're taking it now. You're that's not even your lane. You could have just said, you know what, y'all should talk to her because she's been doing it for years and da da da. Like, why don't we think like that? It's like, if we all thought like that, things will change quickly, man. Because I'm about quick change. I don't like them, man, 10 years we trying to do this. I'm like, nah, we need to do this in 6 months. We need to do this in a year. And it can be done like that. But everybody just ain't into it. Even with our field project in Homewood, you know what I'm saying? We ain't have no money. Zero money. And all we wanted to do is build a new field, and from that, develop programming to deal with these kids all year long. So that they could be, because that we struggle with that. They leave us after this sport, and then they're not doing too well. Then they get back with us, and we reprogram again. So we're going to use the field as just the event.
Yeah.
But we're going to do the real work, the program. So when it comes to that, everybody's like, no one believed we can get a field done. And now it's like, no one's believing that what we do works. And that just burns me up because, like, just within my organization, I got so many young brothers and sisters who came through the organization and they coming back and giving back. And I'm like, man, they should be able to do this for their full-time job. They should be like, they up here working and then coming and getting home 9, 10 o'clock, and that affects your household and all of that. Why do we gotta struggle so hard to help our people when you got millions just given away to help? That's what the millions is given away for. That's what these companies say they want to do, but they don't put the money in what they eyes can see.
I just think,
it burned me up, Coach.
It's still part of the system, bro. Like, to sow discouragement amongst the leaders, amongst the people who are actually doing the work.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, when you're discouraged and you're the leader, it causes you maybe not to do certain things, But I just think doing what we're doing now, having these conversations, being connected, creating unity amongst what we do individually, but we have the same goal. I think that is the solution, right? We talk about violence prevention. I'm not sure if y'all went over this, but how has the community violence affected you and your organization, some of the kids that you've worked with? Have you had to face any of those kind of obstacles? And then what's some of your solutions beyond sports? What are some of your solutions to deal with some of this community violence that we see?
Yeah, right. Good question.
I think the community violence, definitely, I think it has affected all of us. You know what I mean? One way or another. If you're in the community and you've been working with people in the community, there's some way, somehow, you cannot have been affected by it. I'm trying to think if there's any specific stories that I can say, but I know definitely, I'll just stick with just in general community violence. My thing, what I've learned over the years, and I'm still learning, is that I guess the way you deal with violence, I think, is or one of the ways. I can't act like I have a solution, but opportunity, right? Being able to have the opportunity to do something and be something productive. Identity, like knowing who you are, how valuable you are. The one of the thing I've learned just from reading and watching stuff and studying and doing research is that the way that you overthrow a people or colonize a people or enslave a people, you got to strip them of their identity, right? You have to make them or create a scenario where they don't see themselves as valuable, as productive, right? Like they've done us. That's why so many of us don't know our history. Like I'm 48 years old. I'm just learning stuff. Like I bought this sweatshirt, Black Wall Street. I just learned about Black Wall Street, I would say, in recent years, like within the last 3 or 4 years. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it opened my eyes to the fact that, wow, like we have had communities where we were, now it's talking about black-owned business and stuff like that. We had thriving cities, communities of black-owned business, but it was out of necessity, right? Then they convinced us that it's better to be able to integrate, which made us devalue all that we worked and overcame to have what we have. Because you talking about getting it from the mud. Yeah. You're talking about a group of people who, for hundreds of years, wasn't even allowed to learn how to read and write. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Was enslaved. And then when you quote unquote supposedly free them, then you put all these barriers up in front of them to make sure that they don't advance. And we still advance within that. Like, our youth don't know that story. Yeah. You know what I mean? They've caused us to think our identity is what we see in music, athletics, and that's as far as it goes. If you talk to, and I know it's cliche now, but you talk to any of our youth, ask them what they want to be. If you got 10 of them in the room, you probably...
How did we get there from being, I want to be a doctor, lawyer, to just, I'm going to spit these bars?
So what I saw, from reading and researching is that it was strategic, right? So you look at, we had a common battle and struggle, which was civil rights, just being treated like human beings, having equal rights. So that was our focus. So you had King, you had Malcolm X, you had Stokely Carmichael, you had Black Panther Party, you had, all of these different revolutionary groups who was all, even though they all had their own groups, they all was fighting for that common thing, which is equal rights, human rights, to be respected as So what you do is, what they did was they killed off all of our leaders, right? And now they handpick leaders now. You know what I'm saying? The people, we can't put 20 black men in the room and be like, well, who's a black leader? Who we look to? You know what I'm saying? You gonna get it, you know what I'm saying? That was by design. And then the rise of the rise of like black Hollywood, so to speak, like the black exploitation movies in the 70s, right? So we go from looking at heroes like Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Stokely Carmichael, to Dolomite is on TV now. You know what I'm saying? You see him, Superfly.
Sucker.
Yeah, you seeing that. So your focus starts to go toward that, and that's by design, right? And then you, of course, you
program.
You take opportunity out of the community, because we all used to be able to work with our hands, right? Our fathers and grandfathers, if they ain't know nothing else, they know how to work with their hands. They could build, and if you could work with your hands, you can always feed yourself, right? You can always take care of yourself. I don't know nothing about working with my hands. You know what I'm saying? Because when I grew up, they made me think that all black people was only going to be able to be successful if they go to college. Right? But go to college, when you come out of college, you don't have a community that can provide you work. So you got to rely on somebody else's community.
Dependent.
To let you know if your degree is valid enough, or you valid enough for them to give you a job.
That sounds a lot like that Willie Lynch letter, man.
It's all part of that, man. That's all. We
gotta get into that.
Yeah, it's all part of that.
Please go read that.
So the identity is being put into us from somebody else. We don't control. We don't have no school,
and we allowed.
Yeah,
we got people.
And see, we keep thinking that somebody else is supposed to invest in us so that we can be better. But if you racism is not a bad thing. I don't want to get y'all canceled, but racism is not a bad thing, right?
With this one.
Because racism just says that you about your race first, right? So if you with a group of people who's not about their own people first,
right? And
it's bigotry that's bad. See, bigotry means that you hate somebody else because they from another race, and you don't want to see them do good,
right?
Being about your race first, everybody's about their race first. It's a natural instinct, except us. We think that it's guilty to try to think about you. We think something's wrong with that.
You could be about your race, but not think your race is better than
it ain't about being better than nobody else.
You could be about your race.
It ain't about wanting to hurt nobody. I don't want to hurt nobody else. I want to see every group of people do well.
But you focus on.
But I want to see my people. I'm tired of seeing my people killing each other every day. I'm tired of seeing my people living below the poverty line. I'm tired of seeing my people not owning nothing. I'm tired of seeing my people have to wait until somebody else decide we can have something. Like we are intelligent enough. We are strong enough. We have everything that you need to be a thriving race of people.
So how we change that mindset though? Like
start with the conversations, but there got to be action behind it. You know what I mean?
So what are some actions that, because we're a solution based show, you know, we want to make sure that we give the people who's watching this some things to think about, maybe some action items that they can actually go and physically do and be a part of the change.
I think one of the actions is we have to start putting our own money behind our own community and things.
Because our money go everywhere.
We a $2 trillion people, right? That's how much we spend as
how
black
much of it go back to us though?
All right, look, let me tell y'all the story. So when I was working at Dad's Earth Prep, my last year, my next to last year there, I was blessed to be able to teach a class. It was called Race and Equity in the United States. So they give me this class, right? There's no curriculum, right? None, no curriculum at all. They give me a video to start, and the rest was on me. But you know, I was already I'm already reading and studying and researching Dr. Claude Anderson, Dr. Umar Johnson, Boyce Watkins. Like I'm already like on this. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Earn your leisure. I'm like I'm always trying to get information. So I'm like, oh, that's no problem. So we get in class, and I'm teaching the 10th grade class. It's all African American kids in there, and we talk about that. So we talk about, and we was going through this book. The book is called Stamped. Okay, it's a good book. If you get a chance, check it out. So we got on the topic of the dollar, the circulation of the dollar in each community. So I was explaining to them that, you know, in the Jewish community, the dollar circulates their community up to 18 times before
What does
it
that
ever
mean,
leaves.
though, when it circulates 18 times?
So that means that it's going to go around their community 18 times, meaning that a Jewish person, when they need to go to the grocery store, they make sure they go to a Jewish-owned grocery store. If they need to go see a doctor, they go to a Jewish doctor. If they need some shoes, they're going to go to a Jewish shoe store. If they want to go out and eat. So they are intentionally making sure that they reinvest in their own community. The Asian community, 16 times.
And this is before the money even goes.
Before it ever leaves their community. That's how many times they say it circulates.
And what does that do for the community when that happens, though?
So when you have the funds circulating in the community, you can invest in so many different things, right? And then if we got businesses, right, and we taking care of each other's business, now I could have a audio video place, and I need somebody to work, and VZ's into it. So I'm like, bro, I got a spot. These can come over here, work. Yeah. You know, he can learn about what he do. I can pay him. You know what I'm saying? I can reinvest in my community. Yeah. Somebody needs something. We have the funds to reinvest in our community. That's why you have the Jewish Community Center. The government don't fund that.
Yeah. Where's our center at?
Yeah, exactly.
Is it the
the Jewish people in the community put their money together and make sure that they fund their community center, which is, there's nothing wrong with that.
That's a great thing. Like,
you know what I'm saying?
It's a great thing to have that.
Yeah, that you're supposed to do that. But for us, we keep thinking that somebody else is supposed to do it for us. We keep complaining about the school system, right? But we got the money to invest in our own schools.
Because you said, what, $3 trillion?
$3 trillion people.
Is this a year?
Yes.
We got to do better, man.
Yes, $3 trillion. Listen, there's a video, right, that I seen. This video is from, I want to say, like the 1950s. It's a half-hour video, and it's like a presentation / documentary. And there's a white guy on there, and he's breaking down that there is a new consumer market in the country that we're overlooking. This is what he's saying. He says this consumer market is the Black American. He says the Black American at that time, this is like 1950, I think he says they're worth $2 billion. They spend $2 billion. This is how he breaks down. This is how you sell to and market to the Black community. We need to stop overlooking this community because there's so much money that's to be had in the community. Then he breaks down, they like things that are shiny. They like names, brands. Don't offer them something that's generic because you will offend them. They want to make sure that what they buy is impressive to people. I kid you not. He said, I'm gonna send y'all the link so y'all can watch.
But I mean, I live in the community,
this
bro.
This is 1950.
You know what I say about, like, I forget who said it, right? But they said you gotta have soft eyes on our people, right? And I basically what that meant, you gotta give them the benefit of the doubt and always try to see the positive in them. And I always say, like, there will be people that try to clown the folks living in the project with an 80-inch screen TV, or somebody that got a Louis Vuitton purse, but they catching a bus and living, you know what I'm saying? And I'm saying we don't have much, right? So we want to get something, and we don't. You know what I mean?
To make us feel
good, make ourselves feel good, because we don't have much. And that's what I feel like when anybody in the community buys something that people might look like, why they spend that much on that when they living right here? They could be. I feel like because, you know, it's kind of like therapy. It's therapeutic. Because
for who?
For them. You know what I'm saying? Because listen, that big screen TV. When you come home from a hard day of work, you could come home and that is your reward to yourself. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like you can do both. You can get something like that might be out of your budget, you know what I mean, to keep you sane, and you can still invest. It just might take you a little bit longer. But I don't look down on people who be spending on stuff that some might think they shouldn't be spending about, because I feel like we a lot of people don't have nothing.
So you know what he just said, to me, it's systematic, it's strategic, and I think we're probably the most studied people. And what they do is they learn about our likes, our wants, all that stuff, and then they use it against us. Because naturally, because if you study something, you know, like, okay, they're gonna be attracted to these certain things. And so what they do is they set up the systems around that so they can benefit. So we can get like this pleasure for a night, right? While they get pleasure for a lifetime. We got to get out of that mentality and mindset, because guess what? Your three sons, my three sons are on their target board as well. And so how are we going to create generational wealth? Black Wall Street, we spending $3 trillion a year, right? So I'm just pushing back a little bit, because I think we're smart enough. We have enough money within our community. If it goes around 16 times before it leaves, then we actually have a shot at creating generational wealth for my sons, which would be my great grandsons. Like when my dad died, you know, he was a great man, but he really couldn't leave me anything. So now it's like we starting from scratch. So it's up to me now. Right. Now we're definitely behind.
Yeah, sometimes behind.
So it's on me to break break that mentality somehow. You know what I mean? And some of these conversations will, you know, help with stirring that pot.
So to finish up those numbers, just to give y'all an example, they said, give y'all actually to see it. 18 times in the Jewish community, like 16 times in the Asian community, in the Arab community. Like everybody's community was like 12, 15. Then I asked them, I said, so how many times do y'all think the dollar circulates the black community before it leaves? So they start throwing numbers at me, 5, 8, 12, 10. I said, the dollar does not circulate the black community one time before it leaves.
What?
Not one time. And I said, they was like, huh? I said, okay, I want y'all to all start yelling out to me y'all favorite designers and things that y'all like to buy. So they start yelling out Gucci and Prada, and I'm writing them all on the board, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, so look at all of this. This is what we spend our money on. I said, none of these are black-owned companies. None of this goes back into the black community. Like, so that means when we work and get our dollar, we buy something, right? The trade is we give them money, they give us something that we like, and that thing that we like can only make us feel good for a second, because it's not anything vital. It's something that you wear that loses value.
Depreciates.
And then they got the dollar to continuously get the things that they need. And we don't, so we keep and we don't understand, and we're targeted. That's why all of our heroes that they put in front of us to make us the people that we look up to, they glorify materialism, right? All the best rappers talk about the cars, the jewelry, the what they drink. The girls talk about the Birkin bag, this, that. None of that stuff benefits us in no way, shape, or form.
At all.
It's crazy. I was listening to We only got 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say this and shut it down.
Oh man, we might have to bring Coach Nehemiah back.
I was listening to an interview on the Breakfast Club last week, and this guy, I forgot his name. I got to look up his name, but he's the only person or one of the only people that's challenging Joe Biden for the Democratic seat for the presidency. He was talking about how basically all the Democrats turned their back on him because they don't want nobody to challenge Joe Biden. They just want him to run. Right. This dude comes from the Belvedere, the family that owns Belvedere, right? So his dad owned Belvedere. He's working with his dad. You know, he working with the company. He says we were struggling, right? He said our company was struggling. He said one day I turn on a rap video and it's Jay-Z. I'm a hustler, baby. I just want got 4 Belvederes in it. He said
took off.
He said they opened the fridge. He said it's a whole fridge full of Belvedere on the video. He said he instantly called his dad, said, Dad, we ain't got to worry no more. We about to take off. He said their percentage went through the roof after that, right? He says my dad, Jay-Z asked to meet with my dad, right? So when he said, I think it was Charlemagne or Envy said, so did y'all give him a percentage? He was like, no. He said him and my dad just talked. He told him about the business. That was it. And I said, wow. They wouldn't even give that man a percentage of it.
And that's why he started his own.
Yeah, which was smart.
He learned the game.
Which was smart.
And he started his own.
But that shows our impact on commerce, right? Yeah. Made their company through the roof. And then, you know what I'm saying?
If we just so we could close this out, if we value each other like they value us, bruh, that's the solution.
We gotta work on that solution.
I value Coach Moo. I value Coach Nehemiah. This is why I let them be a part of my son's life. This is why I allow them to speak into my son's life.
And vice versa.
You feel me? And so we gotta value. If we value each other, if you don't get nothing from this conversation, right. There's some statistics that were just dropped and laid out that should have you really look at yourself and be like, man, what am I really truly investing in? If we're not investing in each other, then who is? Right? Yeah. And so we want to hear from y'all about what you think about this conversation, about what's a good investment as far as, and I'm saying I'm investing in Moo.
I'm investing in Coach Wong.
And we got to be on the same page when that happens. And our money, our dollars, just like this table is a circle, it got to circulate with us first so we can benefit, Coach Nehemiah, we appreciate the conversation.
Yes, sir, good brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Love and we come back anytime.
Absolutely. And so this is I Am a Solution. I'm Coach Wong.
I'm Coach Moo. We out.
See y'all later.